So you've never seen this before.
Oh.
Had you ever seen the children's movie of the same name starring Michael Keaton that came out less than a year later?
No, I have not.
But had you seen the memes online about switching the VHSs of both movies at Blockbuster?
No,
I'm 100% sure that happened at some point.
that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, man. Some fucking family takes what they think is going to be a lovely children's movie about a sensitive relationship between a kid and his father home, and they get this guy fucking some lady with his carrot nose.
Fucking is generous term too. It was hard rape.
Well, I mean,
She certainly wasn't
a category
consenting.
of.
Yeah.
Oh, that I would not try to make that argument for sure.
No.
Yeah.
This was not the Shannon Elizabeth movie I watched as a teen, but
You weren't complaining?
I am complaining about the way she was treated in this. We get to see a lot more in American Pie as well. But,
So that's your complaint, that you didn't get to see more?
No. The complaint is how her character goes out here is pretty rough,
it's
but I
not
guess
great.
appropriate for a horror movie.
I suppose so. Welcome to Bad Movies and Beer. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And that extremely problematic intro aside, today we are discussing the straight-to-video, and I think it shows.
It was straight to video?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Late 90s horror movie, Jack Frost.
Yes.
Not to be confused with the mainstream studio theatrical release 1998 movie, Jack Frost.
By Michael Keaton.
Starring, he didn't fucking write that shit,
He
I hope.
produced it, didn't he? He put
It's
all the
pretty
money
bad.
into it.
We
Yeah.
probably watched that for this podcast too. It did not go well. No, in that one, a loving father gets his soul put in the body of a snowman. He gets to spend one more winter with his kid. And in this one, it is basically the exact opposite.
Yeah, I haven't seen the family movie. So now I am one of two of the Jack Frost franchises that I've got to see. This one...
You gonna see the other one? You gonna check them both out?
Compare them, yeah.
Maybe.
Take some
Why
notes.
not?
I don't think so. I'm not really excited to see Michael Keaton in that role as a general dad snowman.
No, I don't think that's gonna make the career highlight reel for him.
No, Batman
the
was
Oscar
the top
in
of the
memoriam
peak,
will
right?
most
Yeah.
likely not feature Jack Frost. No, man, this is a fucking horror movie about a serial killer who becomes a snowman, and we're going to cover it all as we go through this. But before then, as we always do, we've paired this movie with a beer. What are we drinking today, Noel?
Yeah, we are drinking Winter. Nothing better than a beer called Winter to pair with
it's just
our
called
Jack Frost.
Winter?
Yeah, it's just Winter. It's a white stout.
Oh, see, I thought it was called Winter White Stout.
I mean, they go together. I think white stout is the type of
nitpicking.
beer. Yeah,
Yeah.
we are nitpicking here.
I'm nitpicking.
Yeah, so we are drinking a bit of Winter. The great news is there's a skull on the front of this, right? A skull ornament.
Well, the whole can is white. It's got there's snowflakes all over.
It's Christmassy, just like this movie, even more than some of the movies we've watched for Christmas episodes.
Is this a shot at Invasion
Oh,
USA?
absolutely it
You
is. That
motherfucker.
doesn't-
Will you
doesn't
let it
belong
go?
on that list.
I disagree with you. The Christmas is happening. It's because it's in Miami. There's no snow. What do you
There
want?
is no way that this is not more of a Christmas movie than fucking Invasion USA. That's for goddamn sure.
Well, whatever.
All right, that's
We
fine.
could have watched this.
So
We did. We watched it right
So
after
we're
Christmas. What do you want?
drinking Winter White Stout. This is by the great folks at Grain and Grit Beer Company out of Hamilton, Ontario.
We had one of their beers in season 1 when we watched Night of the Creeps.
What was it that we drank that time?
Thrillsner.
Ah, great beer with the
I don't think
skull
they
on the
make that
front of that
anymore.
one.
Isn't it?
That's a staple of
They do,
theirs.
no, they do Little Thrills now.
Ah, so they have like a
Like
gentler
lighter,
pilsner.
I guess,
Yeah, gentler pilsner.
A
So
gentler pilsner.
I
What
don't
are you
know,
doing?
but I'm excited for Winter White Stout. I've actually had this before.
Oh, me too. This is a classic.
It's an
Every year they
annual
bring it
white
out.
stout.
It's
It
great
comes
too.
out.
Check it out now.
It's
There's a
got-
spoiler alert for our beer review later.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
delicious.
There's flavors of like candy cane and white chocolate, and yet it's still a delicious stout. Like we're gonna enjoy this just like we enjoy the ride here on our movie. I think we're gonna see when we get to our ratings, but
Perfect timing, man. Stout weather. We're in the middle of winter.
yeah, exactly. If you haven't been to Grain and Grit, they have a really cool space. They were an old muffler shop that they converted into a brewery. They've been making beer for, I don't know, probably over a decade now, making pretty good
Must
different
have been.
style stuff.
You were onto them early.
Yeah, I was
Being
there.
a Hamilton local.
I was there at the opening. Like I was there when they first opened their doors, and I was on it. I enjoy their beers. I think they do traditional styles better than they do IPAs and pale ales.
Okay.
They do have their
Maybe that's why I like them so
they
much
do
more than
have
some
their
other
fair
Hamilton
share of
breweries.
IPAs and
Yeah.
pale ales, but I think it's actually like their European styles, their lagers, and their more British styles that they tend to do extremely well, which is why I think you like their beers a little bit more than I do even.
I mean, that's possible. I like them more than I like other Hamilton breweries that you like more. I've had this one several times. I fucking love white chocolate. I love things that are like peppermint flavored, candy cane flavored, chocolate mint flavored. So I know this beer. I enjoy it very much. It almost feels like cheating to me because
choosing this one, yeah.
We've already used the brewery and we both know that like we're going to enjoy the beer. So like this already, I mean, it would be a shock to me if this did not up in my end of the year top 5 list.
Wow, you're saying it
I really
already?
like it, but I already know
so this
that.
is exciting. I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess the toss up here for us then was the movie. Which Jack Frost is better, or which is the one that fits on our podcast more? I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, I'm not convinced. This is a real bad movie, but I'm not convinced the other Jack Frost is better. I think I had a better time watching this than watching Michael Keaton try and
I
fucking.
think definitely, yeah, for the most part.
But been crying the whole time as you reconnect to the sun. I don't need that shit.
Based on the other dad movies we've watched, that's probably true.
That's not just me. It's not just me for the record.
Yeah,
no.
let's get into this.
Please, yes. Yeah. We'll drink this and forget our feelings. Here we go. We open with a panning shot of a Christmas tree and what is clearly a fake child's voice asking their Uncle Henry to tell a story. Uncle Henry, who is British, proceeds to tell this child a horrifying tale of a snowman named Jack Frost who murdered many, many people and chopped them into tiny pieces, eventually distributing those pieces all over the place via baking them into pies. But I was thinking about it, and maybe this wasn't supposed to be a kid's voice. Maybe it's like a hooker or some other high-voiced lady that Uncle Henry is nailing, and this is like a weird foreplay thing. What do you think?
I did not go there at all.
You don't think so?
No. This is supposed to be a small child. The uncle is definitely fucked up. In fact, that the fact that he's sharing this story with his niece is pretty weird.
The kid seems into it, though.
No, the kid is scared. The kid even has times in this where they're like, why the fuck are you telling me this? But it's still going on. I don't know or understand the strange connection to the pies. Like, are they trying to get a little bit of like a reference to the like play and movie that Johnny Depp stars in?
Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street?
Yeah, that's the whole like premise of that movie is that he kills and cuts people up and puts them into pies.
So
like,
Jack Frost is like a modern day Sweeney Todd?
I don't know, but then I also...
They could have included some musical elements.
Well,
then.
I was hoping, to be honest. But I also was curious whether like... Is this a Jack the Ripper thing? Because the guy's got a British voice. Like, are we getting into like a historical serial killer?
Jack
here?
the Ripper Frost?
Yeah, I wondered if that was kind of where this was going.
Maybe I was trying to. I thought he was trying to establish his like serial killer bona fides by like he kills people because like he's already on death row when we fucking meet him.
So this is purely just building the exposition, right? Like telling you how bad this guy is.
A weird way to do it, though.
It was really weird. It was strange. I didn't. Actually, I thought it was fairly effective in its like creepy entrance, but it didn't seem like it held the tone of the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's a bit disjointed and separate from what goes on here. But either way, after whatever the fuck this is, we dissolve to a prisoner transport van and the two guards in the cabin struggling to see as they navigate through a terrible snowstorm. The man they're transporting is notorious serial killer Jack Frost, who we were just talking about, who is currently awaiting execution in the back of the van. There's a guard back there too, but after the guys in front work in some totally organic backstory, we see and hear that guy isn't doing too well.
Harv? Everything okay back there, Harv?
Oh, you're doing fine.
Whew.
Real fine.
Harv is not doing fine.
No, he's getting choked out with the boot of our serial killer here.
He's all the way dead.
The Jack Frost character who is playing everything to a fucking 12.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
he's way up there.
It's not even close to an 11. It's even worse than that. It's so far gone.
Yeah.
He is fucking ratcheted here. He stomps on Harv's neck, kills him with his boot, and then puts out Harv's cigarette on his face. He's definitely going to make it to death row, right? He's definitely going to get to the electric chair, and he's going to get fried, and this movie is going to be over.
Well...
I'm doing it again. Not
the last part. But no, like I didn't know. Like I had watched this like 20 years ago when I was in college. I forget how I know what's going to happen, but I forget how it happened. So he could have very well gone and gotten electrocuted, but no. That's not the way it goes. As if things couldn't get any worse. An unfortunate encounter with an oncoming truck driven by a guy who looks an awful lot like Clint Howard, the ice cream man.
That's what I thought of immediately. I was like, shit, Clint Howard is all about like Frost-related horror.
Yeah, no, it was
cold
not
horror.
Yeah. It was not him.
Clint Howard, the cold horror man.
There you go. This causes both trucks to crash, which eventually creates a chemical explosion. But that's not all it creates, as the truck that fake Clint Howard was driving is like a genetic research truck, which presumably includes all kinds of weird DNA stuff, which, when it sprays out onto Jack Frost, causes his body to start melting and then like merge with a nearby snow or something. We're like 5 minutes into this, and it's totally fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, so one, the acting of the people guarding him and driving the truck is terrible. Like, we're getting very low-grade performances here. We know they're not going to be around very long. We know that this truck is crashing and Jack is somehow getting out. When it does crash and we get the other truck exploding, spraying that liquid genetics all over Jack, I actually thought the melting of the body and makeup effect here was okay. Like, not the worst, not the best, but effective. We then get some hilarious animation of what looks like jeans.
Yeah, where the fuck did that come from?
It came out of nowhere. It looks like his jeans are splicing with snow. We are getting like frozen H2O.
It's like snowflakes merging with like helixes.
Yeah, it's so fucked strange. Up. So we get this bad animation, and this is where I'm like, oh my God, is he a fucking snowman villain? I'm like, kind of grumpy. I haven't seen this before. And
Didn't
I'm like,
we talk about it though?
We did talk about it, and I had forgot where this went, right? These first 5 minutes had me like, oh, he's definitely not making it to like death row. Maybe he just gets out and kills people in the winter.
No.
And then I'm like, no, he is turning into a literal fucking snowman.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my God. And so I'm both upset and happy about this. This is two things that I was like, this is going to get campy as fuck, which is enjoyable for me and the podcast.
Sure.
They're not taking themselves seriously, right?
I don't know. We kind of argued this a little bit while we were watching it. I sort of feel like they are, because like, while there are some parts that are like kind of played for laughs, it's never like the deaths and stuff. Like the Jack Frost is himself kind of cracking one-liners as he kills people, but like it's not as though, like, put it this way. The carrot scene with Shannon Elizabeth we already kind of referenced. There's no comedy in that.
No, and it's not like gore for comedy. We don't get the over-the-top violence that would maybe kind of come along with the pure parody. But I'm struggling to see this as something they are taking seriously. But we're going to find out here. We transition from this melting and weird animation to a flashback.
Not quite yet. We've got a different couple who's also driving through this snowstorm trying to navigate it. And the wife telling her husband to relax because the notorious serial killer Jack Frost will soon be put to death, so the husband can stop worrying about him. And we see why he's worried in a flashback, as it turns out that husband is the very sheriff who arrested Jack Frost in the first place, which caused the killer to swear revenge on him. And all I could think of here was, man, tough break for this guy, huh?
Just doing a routine traffic stop. Turns out he's arresting like America's worst serial killer of the last several decades.
Becomes a bit of a celebrity, thinks the guy's getting put down to death row. It's supposed to happen that very day, but instead he gets modified into a fucking snowman.
Yeah, he was half an hour away from feeling reassured and freedom. Instead, he now, well, he's going to still follow up and find out whether Frost has died or not, but he now doesn't have that closure in which he desired, and we know as an audience he's certainly not going to have closure for some time here. We know Jack Frost wants revenge, and he's coming after him in the most icy way possible.
He is, yeah. But as you mentioned, what the sheriff doesn't know is that Jack Frost has become a homicidal snowman and escaped, which means that the idyllic family life we get a glimpse of in our next scene is very much in danger, especially because, as we see in a moment, this town is holding their annual snowman building contest. That's just bad timing all around.
I mean, the fucking town is called Snowmanville.
No, Snowminton.
Snowminton.
Like fucking Edmonton. Like, I don't understand.
I actually like that writing choice. They made it really fucking right on the nose.
That might be your best evidence that this is in fact a joke.
Yeah, I love that they called it Snowminton. So this is kind of funny. They are right now trying to build some likability with the family. Our sheriff has a wife and a child.
That kid's weird as shit, though. I'm putting that out there.
He's a bit
There's
of an odd duck.
There's no likability there for me.
He's a bit of an odd duck. I can't tell how old he is. He seems like he's about 10, but I'm not sure. He could be younger. He could be older.
I thought you were going to say he seems like he's a bit slow. And I was
no,
yeah, he does.
Doesn't.
I disagree completely.
Okay.
We do get to see some of the town folk at work on their snowmen in this next scene. When the sheriff arrives and chats up a couple of locals. There's a pair of nothing happening teenagers, one of which I guess is Shannon Elizabeth's brother. Although, when he gets murdered, you know who does not seem very upset?
She is upset about it.
Oh, stop it.
That doesn't mean she's not going to go somebody, but she's certainly upset about it.
Whatever. There's that guy. There's another one who looks a lot like Scott Wolf from Party of Five, who ends up being Shannon Elizabeth's boyfriend. She's the real excitement of this scene. Jill is the name of her character. She's a local hottie. And her dad is working on something really special for this contest, and it absolutely positively can't be seen until the day of the competition. I was like, he's going to pull that curtain off and it's going to be a murdering snowman. He's gonna kill him. Not true. We never see what's under that curtain.
We don't get it exposed. I went the other way. I thought it was going to be like erotic, and so they couldn't show it until it was
it's fucking bizarro. Scott Wolf is making a snow woman and he's putting fucking boobs on there. And when Shannon Elizabeth comes by, he's like, oh, it's not supposed to be you. Which totally makes me think that it is supposed to be her.
It absolutely was supposed to be her. He did make a bit of a female body snowman. And I mean,
he's going to come back when everyone's gone and just,
No, because it's hard to keep an erection when you put your dick in snow.
He said knowingly.
I don't know. I just assumed.
It doesn't sound
shrinkage
like
is a thing. I think.
Right. I think. All right. Well, either way, he's making a snow woman.
Would you a snow woman?
Not after you're done with her. I'll tell you that right now. Apparently.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it should be a snow melt at that point.
Oh God, Jesus! After a quick stop at the station house, where the sheriff shows what a good guy he is by not being able to throw out the weird chocolate marshmallow concoction his fucked up son made. He gets word of an open case from his complete stereotype of a secretary. This lady has got the big hair and nails and everything. She's smoking a cigarette. And I asked what you thought of her, but I feel like you were too distracted by all the foreshadowing on her desk, huh? Remember when you were like, hey, she's got a lighter and a can of hairspray. It's going to be a flamethrower later.
Yeah, I was right.
Didn't happen.
Yeah, it was a giant explosion with that shit in the police station.
You called flamethrower. You didn't call explosion.
Okay, you're right. It didn't get used like a flamethrower. Like, I don't know, maybe.
I specifically made this note to call you out.
Yeah, you're just looking to call me out on something? Yeah, I see. You're just hoping to put a statue up here because there's so many with your name on them.
If anyone's going to be wrong about a flamethrower made of a lighter and some sort of aerosol can, it's you.
No way. We're going to find out in a couple weeks whether that's true. Oh,
speaking of foreshadowing.
She is not a attractive to me woman. What she reminded me of was my mom.
Oh my God.
Right? Well, it's like the 80s hair, the hairspray, the big hair. She immediately tells him that he's got to go find a dead body. I said tell, but she writes him a note because she's not speaking to him this morning.
She barely speaks in this movie.
Yeah,
I wasn't convinced that she had a speaking part until like 3/4 of the way.
I thought she was mute until they did make her speak.
They didn't want to pay her for speaking part.
I guess
price. Yeah. Yeah, man, he does. He goes and checks out that dead body. It's an old man that is like in a rocking chair. He sees a couple of his deputies before the sheriff contacts the federal agent in charge of the Jack Frost escape, if that's what you can call it. This guy, Agent Manners is his name, tells the sheriff there's nothing to worry about. But when he goes back to grilling a scientist from that genetic research company after hanging up the phone with the sheriff, we see that might not be true.
We hadn't even tested the acid on an amoeba, let alone a human cell. This is a disaster.
Disaster? You gotta learn to look on the bright side of things. At least you know it works. It's just a shame that your guinea pig had to be a homicidal maniac like Jack Frost, who I now have to put back in the test tube.
I would have loved it if he had slid a pair of sunglasses on and they hit the CSI Miami music right there. Yeah!
A little Who wouldn't have hurt at that point. It's true.
Man.
You kind of skipped over the farmersicle rather quickly. I thought it was strange that Jack Frost killed a random farmer here.
Are we sure it was Jack Frost?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
The farmer was frozen and had his neck broken by a soft object that felt like a glove but could have been snow.
Or it could have been a glove.
It absolutely wasn't. I actually think the makeup on this farmer's decent, and we get a little bit of introduction.
Real dead body, sure.
We get an introduction to the doctor who's helping out the sheriff here. We get a little bit of character
kind of
build.
Pops up here and there. Not really important though.
Not really, but he does add a little bit of credibility, I think, to some of the kills. I don't know.
You say so.
The FBI guy and the scientists that are shared are not good.
Name me one character in this movie that is good.
I think the sheriff is decent.
Ooh, I think you're being very generous.
I might be. It might be an in comparison thing, but I feel like the sheriff carries both the tone and like significance of most of the scenes in an effective way.
You want a decent sheriff? Hire Tom Atkins to play him.
Of course, Tom Atkins is going to be a better sheriff.
Yeah, he would have been. Night of the Creeps again.
Yeah, so
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom Atkins is the fucking man.
But he's a pro. This guy is
he would have
clearly not
led
a pro.
so much credibility to this horse shit.
So you're saying that this would have been better if we pulled in one Tom Atkins. You needed one lead
Everything
guy.
would be better with Tom
Well,
Atkins.
okay, I'm not going to argue against that because we know that's true. But
Exactly. No, you're right.
I think Sheriff carries it better. I think the FBI guy and the scientist overacting it here.
See, I was going to say the snowman is my only pick for a credible, and Shannon Elizabeth, of course. I thought she gave a great performance.
Of course she did.
Yeah. No, that old guy, it is decent. He's kind of like a dead man for real. And as word of that dead body makes its way around town, the sheriff's wife returns home and makes an offhand comment to her son that he sure built one hell of a snowman out there. The only problem is the kid didn't build a snowman at all.
He was too busy making snowman cookies?
Or some weird fucking recipe. This guy's cooking all kinds of shit. But the fact that he didn't build it does not stop him from heading outside and putting some coal eyes and a carrot nose on the pre-existing 9-foot snowman, though, which apparently is enough to bring it to life. And when a local dickbag teen taunts the sheriff's son and the snowman, we find out pretty much right away this snowman is not fucking around.
Yeah, this dickhead teen, same teen from the snowman building contest.
Not
earlier.
Bizarro Scott Wolf, the other one.
No, the other one, the younger one.
Not the one that Shannon Elizabeth is
Shannon Elizabeth's brother, not
Allegedly.
the one she's fucking. He's taunting this younger kid. He's telling him to get out of the way because they have the perfect fucking run for a toboggan or sled. They are literally using 1950s toboggans, like the wooden boards on the metal rails.
Well, that was my question. How sharp do they make the blades in those old-timey fucking sleds, man? This thing takes the teenager's
Nobody
head
in
clean
the
off.
fucking 90s used one of these, and they haven't dated the movie. It feels more like an 80s setting to me, but even still, they were not using old-timey things. They were using fucking plastic toboggans at this point. But not really.
You lose your fucking breath there?
Yeah, fucking goddamn it. I'm upset about these fucking toboggans they're using. They're using these sleds, the wooden ones with the metal bars. Clearly, like you said, they're sharp because somehow our snowman trips the douchebag teen into the path of one of his buddies who's going down this incredible icy toboggan run, and it fucking decapitates him.
Oh, yeah. We get the blood splatter all over the fucking snow, which later gets scuffed up by one of the deputies who has no regard for fucking evidence or the sanctity of a crime scene.
I thought it was the sheriff. Sheriff's like, fuck, this is
Whoever it is, this is a shit fucking job at forensics, I'll tell you that. But I'll tell you who's going to have some explaining to do once all the dust settles. It's the sheriff who is angrily confronted by the dead boy's father. The sheriff fully believes his son couldn't have done this, but despite taking a long look at the snowman's vaguely sinister grin, he can't possibly believe that the snowman did it, right?
I mean, his son keeps telling him that the snowman pushed the kid.
Yeah.
Even if the little kid had pushed the bully, it is not his fault that his buddy hit him with a toboggan and took his head off.
Oh, it's still manslaughter.
No, it isn't.
He pushed him and the guy fell. If I pushed you into the path of a moving city bus, I go to jail.
A moving city bus is different than a kid going down on a toboggan.
Not from a legal standpoint.
It certainly would be.
Disagree.
There's no way you are held
The
legally
accident
responsible for
happened.
a tobogganing decapitation.
If I push a kid into the path of a toboggan decapitation, that's on me.
No.
Yeah, he wouldn't be there if I didn't push him.
There is no possible way you would predict someone falling into a toboggan would lead to their death.
Doesn't matter.
No,
that doesn't matter.
It
Manslaughter is non-premeditated, could be considered accidental death.
It does require some possibility that death would be fatal, that incident that you were acting in
Just
should result in
because
death.
you and I and this weird fucking sheriff's son don't know that the blades on those 1950s sleds are sharp as fuck, apparently, does not mean ignorance of the law is no excuse. He pushed that kid into the path, and that kid's head is fucking gone.
1, the snowman pushed him. 2, it's bullshit that this toboggan took off his head. 3,
But it happened. It did happen. Those are facts.
The kid is 10 or under and would face 0 consequences.
Listen, we're not going to
Children
agree on
under
this.
12 do not get manslaughter.
Well, they wouldn't be tried as adults. He'd go to juvie.
He would get nothing.
Whereas he could be making his fucking fancy recipes in the toilet.
Yeah, filling it with fucking...
Fucking toilet wine. He gets his fruit cups from the cafeteria, throws them in there, lets them ferment for a little while.
Yeah.
There you go.
This kid's a celebrity in
She's gonna be
juvenile.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless
How did we get
of who
there?
is
I don't
legally
know.
at fault for whatever happens here, we see in our next scene that something is not sitting right with the sheriff as he pores over some old notes from Jack Frost at his dimly lit kitchen table. His wife is shocked and angry when she sees them, thinking that the sheriff had destroyed the letters a long time ago. She tries to comfort him by telling him to forget about it because, in her words,
he's gone, and he can't come back. The only place he exists now is in here.
but unless she's talking about the possessed body of a snowman, she's going to have a big I told you so headed her way later.
Yeah, you pointed to your head in telling the audience that he only exists in his mind, but you're right. He exists somewhere else, and that somewhere else is in H2O, in the frozen variety. And melted,
Yeah.
as we're going to find out shortly. It seems like Jack Frost is now a part of water, which is a problem, because water is in all of us.
It really is. He's become a part of life, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of the possessed body of a snowman, turns out old Jack Frost is scoping out Shannon Elizabeth's house. He catches her dad enjoying a pipe outside after being a dick to his wife and daughter, and decides to jam an axe handle down this dude's throat just because. But it's once the snowman gets inside the house that things truly get ridiculous. Despite being like 8 feet tall, Jack Frost can just teleport around the living room, eventually murdering the wife with a variety of Christmas ornaments in a scene that did not look even a little bit realistic.
There's a lot here. I'm asking questions about whether Jack Frost, as Snowman, understands that he put himself with the sheriff's family. I have to assume he did. Like, I'm kind of going on the, like, understanding that he was there with the sheriff's son and wife on purpose.
But then why leave? Why not just kill them?
But I feel like he's in it for a long game. Like, he's like, I'm going to fuck up this kid and family, so I'm going to do some more damage in this town. He wants to taunt the sheriff. We know that as a man, Jack Frost liked to sort of fuck with the victims and people, so I feel like he's doing that with the sheriff here.
Well, we also know that these screenwriters wanted to make a movie that was 90 minutes long instead of 13 minutes long. So there's that.
There may have been some padding. This scene of him killing the man outside is pretty quick. He jams that axe down his throat in a very aggressive and effective way. I wish there was a bit of gore. We kind of missed some of that in the makeup. When they get inside, though, when he garrots the wife of the man who's killed outside with the Christmas lights, it is pretty graphic. The scene, though, of the snow hand smashing her head into the box of ornaments is fake as fuck. Like, one of the most fake effects I think I've seen in quite some time. It's pretty bad.
You're not wrong. The effects in this scene look like absolute bullshit, but it does not take long for the sheriff's deputies to find the wife's body when all's said and done. Actually, this guy who delivers driveway salt door to door finds her, and the snowman too. But we don't see yet whether he also gets killed. And with nowhere left to turn, the sheriff meets Agent Manners at the station house and tries to give him information. But Manners doesn't want to hear it, and after winning the dick measuring contest by forfeit, they check out the crime scene where that scientist from the genetic research company gives us a chilling insight into Jack Frost's abilities.
Oh, sweet Jesus, look at this. This thing is able to latently alter its elemental molecular structure.
English, Stone, English.
It can freeze and unfreeze at will.
It's pretty Englishy, I don't know.
I felt like that scientist was not overly complicating
what I'm
most
saying,
of the shit. Yeah, that is kind of bullshit. The FBI guy did seem to be short, unlike the child who you're talking.
I don't know if you can say that.
You were shitting all over this child, calling
That
him
kid's
slow.
dumb as fuck.
No,
Yeah, I don't know
no,
if
the
you can say
child is
something
fine. The
about
child is above average.
However you feel about this child or the FBI agent, the stakes have been firmly established. They are dealing with a homicidal snowman who can switch back and forth between solid and liquid form, even though the non-snow parts of his body should not be able to do that. You know, coal eyes, carrot nose, stick eyebrows. But locked doors will not keep him out. And despite that, the sheriff calls for a curfew, urging people to stay home and lock their doors. Jesus, no wonder Agent Manners shits all over him in our next scene. What kind of plan is this?
He was told by the FBI guy to set the curfew, right? He's told to shut this town down because they know they need more help. They don't have the ability to sort of keep up with this fucking murderous snowman. I think it's a good call by you to bring up that the carrot and the other aspects of him should not be carried through. What's interesting is there's some inconsistencies because there's times where he appears without the coal, eyes, nose, and carrot, and other times he has them after going into liquid form, and that's a bit of a fuck up inconsistency on this movie here.
Yeah, it's almost like this is not a very good movie, and they just didn't.
They didn't give an absolute fuck about whether it fit those contexts. Yeah, that's fair. So they're gonna try to lock down the town. He's headed to the church, the sheriff that is, to tell the members of the community that they need to go home. There is a problem. They, on the other hand, like want some heat, and they also want to fuck up the creature that's here and hurting them.
Well, I'll tell you one guy who does. That fucking driveway salt guy, man. He's smashing up all the entries in the snowman contest, completely justifiably, since he knows the killer's a giant snowman. But he still gets sent home to rest after causing a public scene. And it turns out his smashing rampage isn't the only thing being stopped. As in our next scene, one of the sheriff's deputies is driving home when the sight of a snowman holding a stop sign causes him to actually stop his car. And then, in what is maybe the most ridiculous moment in this movie, he decides to get a shovel out of his trunk to clear out the snowman rather than just, I don't know, drive around it. This predictably goes wrong for him as he returns to where the snowman was to find only a pool of water in the aforementioned stop sign before getting backed over by Jack Frost when he goes to put the shovel back in his trunk. And I'm just going to say it, maybe the least dignified death I've ever seen. Terrible job by that guy.
I actually quite enjoyed the death, but I do understand where you're coming from here. You said he should drive around the snowman. Full speed with your car driving through a snowman is not a problem. It wouldn't even have done damage to the car. You could have driven through him and it would have been fine. The fact that he stopped and that the snowman melted itself, got into his car and backed him over was absolutely despicable, right? Like, what a fucking kick in the balls here. Holy shit.
That deputy, no great loss.
Yeah, that deputy was not a great loss. Nobody was crying a tear for him, really, because to get owned by a snowman in that way is deplorable.
Absolutely. And it turns out, actually, that neither of the sheriff's deputies are particularly sharp, as the other one pays a visit to the sheriff's home only to startle his wife terribly. He's there to get her to a safe location, but while they're trying to get out of the house, other people are trying to get in, namely Shannon Elizabeth and the Scott Wolf adjacent teen from earlier. For some reason, she's got it in her head that the sheriff's house would be a sexy place to fool around. I mean, hell, I wouldn't argue with her. But it's weird. It's weird, right?
Really fucking weird. She's mad at the sheriff. This is the scene of her brother's earlier death.
Oh, that's why she's mad at the sheriff. If that really was her brother.
It was her brother.
I'm not convinced that it was.
So her brother died earlier in that horrible metal tobogganing incident.
So your revenge is you get drilled in the sheriff's master bed?
So now she's going to go in the sheriff's bed because she blames him and the sheriff's son for his death. I think she just likes to get a little risky, right? She just wants her sex to take place in a non-traditional format. We've also learned...
place in a non-traditional format.
Yeah, we've also learned that her father's a sauce and that she probably can't get in his home. So she has headed to the sheriff's here. She makes out in the kitchen with her boy toy, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
It's pretty lame, although she does strip down. Hilariously, though, in a Jack Frost movie, both of them strip down and they are in their like long john underwear, which is pretty funny.
Doesn't stop her from sneaking the innuendo in here, though.
No. Turn on the lights. Come on.
I'll get all scared in the dark. And then I'll need a really big boy to look after me.
Big boy? You're getting there.
Is that he's still growing or that he's getting an erection?
No, that's what it is. He's getting an erection. Yeah, he'll be a big boy in about 5 seconds.
It's good that he has his long johns on though, so that he doesn't have the shrinkage of the cold Colorado weather.
You're back on this shrinkage thing.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. So she tells him though that she's not willing to him then and there. He needs to get her some wine and a warm fire. So he's going to go get that started. She's going to head upstairs and blow dry her hair while he gets some wine open, and we never see him start a fire.
He does not start a fire, but in her mind at least, he pours her a bath. She's going to do that too, I guess. This all sounds good on paper, But when this guy goes to the freezer to get some ice for the wine, I guess, the guy has no idea what he's fucking doing. We see the freezer is chock full of frost and also what appears to be a carrot nose. And although you correctly suspected this was foreshadowing, I'm not sure you could have ever fully imagined what was going to happen mere minutes later.
I did think that Jack Frost was going to end up inside her.
Oh God! What? Why?
Because she was going to drink the wine with him.
Oh,
in it.
sorry. We have very different meanings of the word insider there.
Well,
of the phrase, yeah,
yeah. I was expecting it in a much different way. I
meant a figurative sense.
Yeah. I thought she was going to drink a part of Jack, and then he was going to like kill her from the inside. I guess
that may be what he does.
It kind of is what happens here. We had to rewatch this scene because I didn't get it the first time, but we're about to see her enjoying a bath until the water starts to get a little chilly.
Before that happens, though, I guess Jack Frost wasn't in the freezer because after hearing a noise outside, Shannon Elizabeth's boyfriend opens the door only to get punched in the face by, in his own words, the world's most pissed off snow cone. Jack Frost absolutely dummies him here, as in between snowman point of view shots, he launches ice shards at this guy that literally cut through his torso and eventually brain. So it's bad times for this couple, but it's about to get a lot worse.
Oh my goodness, yes. It was cool to find out that Jack Frost can shoot icicles out of his fucking body into people. He does get the guy in the shoulder and then put it through his brain, and we get kind of a cool gore shot from the other side.
Oh, of it punching through the wall and the blood.
And that's not bad.
Not bad.
And now, though, the love interest is gone, and we only have Shannon Elizabeth taking a bath alone. It's at this time I'm like, can he make himself warm? Can Jack Frost change the temperature of himself so that, like, I thought the whole bath was Jack Frost and he was going to mess her up. It's not the case, though.
Well, we don't think it's the case. That's a better question. Can Jack Frost be in two places at once? Because he's clearly in the kitchen killing the boyfriend. He can't also be in the tub, can he? Or can he?
I don't know. That's never clarified for us.
And was he in the freezer?
I don't think so, but it
so
did
what was that carrot-looking thing?
It was purely,
that
was the worst freezer I've ever seen. If Jack Frost wasn't in it, by the way, like that was some bullshit.
Yes, goddamn, clean your freezer out.
Holy
Come on,
God,
there's no excuse for that shit.
I don't care how messed up your kid is. You got to clean your freezer.
As you mentioned, she gets in this bathtub. The water is warm, but it quickly turns cold, and a certain carrot nose floats up right between her legs before the water goes from cold to straight up snow, and Jack Frost's body lifts her up out of the tub into a standing missionary position where we get a bunch of screaming and grunting while his carrot nose remains conspicuously absent. In fact, it isn't until after the snowman drops this line on us that the carrot suddenly makes its way back onto his face.
Looks like Christmas came a little early this year. Well, hope it was good for you, honey.
So yeah, he f***ed her with his carrot nose. I have not seen this in over 20 years, but this is absolutely the one scene that I remember.
I actually thought this could have been more or better. Like it stands out to me because it was so like deplorable, but I actually thought there could have been more from this scene. I don't know if they just weren't able to make it clearer what was happening. They didn't have the technology, or it would have been inappropriate.
I was going to say it's a rating thing. I bet you couldn't go much further without getting a hard fucking X slapped on there or something. NC-17?
Yeah, and so it's pretty rough. He goes from this, dropping that line, and smoking his pipe. Like, he goes immediately into smoking a pipe.
A lot of people like to smoke after sex.
So they're telling you kind of what happened there. And then we get a transition to the FBI and the sheriff.
Yeah, back at the station house, the sheriff and his crew are trying to figure out what to do about this killer snowman when suddenly that missing deputy's car shows up with a trunk full of guns, but strangely not the deputy. Now, we know that he's dead, and Jack Frost is almost certainly responsible for this. And sure enough, he pops up in a low-grade jump scare when the sheriff's secretary picks a scarf off the ground. This was kind of fun, I thought. Like, silly as hell, but fun. And it launches us into what will end up being one of our final sequences as the sheriff, the secretary, Agent Manners, and that scientist in the genetic research company have to make their final stand against Jack Frost.
Oh, shit. How are we going to stop Jack Frost and this motherfucker? I think the only thing that could possibly do this is some fucked up oatmeal made by a small child.
Well, We don't get the oatmeal yet. That happens later. No, first they try locking themselves in a back room, which of course doesn't work because Jack Frost can just turn himself into water. But then they can't get out of that room because of another lock. So the sheriff has to go back and get the keys he left behind, which he does. But then Jack Frost almost gets him. Meanwhile, he's like fumbling to let that driveway salt guy out of the holding cell, which I guess they put him in earlier instead of sending him home. This whole thing is like a weird sequence that ends with all of them like just barely slipping out of a tiny window as the snowman closes in. And the final shot here I thought was actually pretty good.
There is some weird cinematography here, one in which makes me think that this has to be a comedy.
Oh, it gets weird as fuck in a minute.
The shots of them holding the hairdryers as weapons to hold back Jack Frost as they like trap him.
I forgot to mention that. They use the hairdryers to, yeah.
It is silly as fuck, right? Both the angle they choose and this hairdryer shit. The whole like long extended scene of the sheriff trying to go get the keys out of the door as the aerosol cans are going off. This is a throwback to what we talked about earlier. They use the aerosol and a bullet to, in a second, explode Jack Frost. The funny part you're talking about is when Jack reaches the edge of the window right as they get out and shut it, and he smokes his face into it.
No carrot nose, though.
You get a funny thud. This
is that
where
still
I
inside
said,
Shane
yeah,
Elizabeth? No.
Yeah, well, this is where I said sometimes the coal and the carrots appear and sometimes it doesn't, and that's that inconsistency, right? But the FBI agent shoots a bullet into this room full of aerosols. It explodes, and Jack Frost is now toast, right? Like they've demolished him. He's gone. We're going to head to the end credits now.
No, this does not quite work out the way that you're saying. They do blow the station house sky high. Kind of. Agent Manners shoots a shot that blows Jack Frost into a million pieces. I'm not sure what caused the explosion, really. Was it like a gas leak or something?
It's all those aerosol cans they set up.
That's it?
They aerosol trapped that whole room. They filled it with like an explosive gas and then shot into it.
Fair enough. Either way, Agent Manners is pretty confident this is all over. But the sheriff knows better, as do we, since there's still 20 minutes of movie left. And right on cue, Jack Frost reforms into a slightly disarranged but no less menacing form.
Look, Ma! I'm a Picasso!
That was kind of funny. It's a little funny.
It was kind of funny. It was a little silly as he's like this deformed snowman thing.
The head is like where his arm should be, and like I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So they know immediately that they have not solved the problem. They're trying to get into the church or find a safe place. His secretary, for some reason, and the other deputy get locked out of the church, and we get a your place or mine moment.
Yeah, and what does the deputy say?
Your place.
Sure. Easier to leave the other person's place.
Yeah. What we don't get is we don't get a sex scene between them. And I feel like that's the biggest disappointment of this movie.
The only sex scene we get is Shannon Elizabeth and the Snowman. And as you mentioned, that was tough to watch.
Not a very compelling one.
No, that's true. Those two are gone. But the sheriff is still there, and he is really desperate for answers as he gets right in the face of that genetic scientist who reveals that while this was an accident, they were trying to bond a human helix with an inert object, and this whole mix-up has proven their wildest theories correct. The soul exists, Noel. Now, unfortunately, in this case, it's the soul of a sadistic serial killer, but regardless, this is a big win for science.
They've learned that the soul exists as a chemical, and that is a big win. The scientist, though, like you said, has no idea how to stop it, but the sheriff is willing to try some high heat from the furnace for an extended period of time. What do you think? Is it going to work?
Not just high heat from the furnace, they've also armed themselves once again with a whole litany of blow dryers.
More.
Everyone's got one. The sheriff, Agent Manners, the scientist, the secretary, and driveway salt guy. And blowing those hair dryers at Jack Frost constantly manages to push him back into the furnace.
There's a lot of comedic blowing in this. I wish there was more comedic blowing in general in life, but this movie has its fair share.
Yeah, man. But they managed to push Jack Frost back into the furnace where he apparently dissolves forever. But as you pointed out, anything that evaporates can be condensed once more, a fact which Agent Manners realizes when he looks at a nearby window in the middle of his triumphant speech.
You know, it's at a time like this when I think all we can do is turn our eyes up to the heavens and say, oh, shit.
Looks like the only thing evaporating here is Agent Manners' confidence, huh?
Yeah, and life as the icicles formed inside the mouth of Jack Frost pierce his face.
Fuck yeah, man. Jack Frost grows himself some ice teeth and essentially bites this dude's face off.
Pretty good.
I agree. This is one of the best effects in the movie.
Yeah, I do like this.
Yeah.
We knew he wasn't going to die here. We knew he was coming back. You can't end Jack Frost like that. This is a genetically modified H2O killing machine. There's no way it can be stopped. Certainly not by a packet of oatmeal inside of a Ziploc.
We still haven't gotten to that yet. Stop spoiling the ending. He kills fucking Agent Manners, and then he kills and inserts himself into the scientist's body. Because, we're mostly made of water, and he fucking controls water now, I guess. But this ruse won't last long, as the sheriff sees the reanimated scientist and is like, what the hell is wrong with you? Because the guy's like lurching around and can't talk. So Jack Frost reveals himself and tries to kill the sheriff and his son, only to be temporarily thwarted by yet another of this kid's homemade recipes. And this is the special oatmeal you're talking about, designed to keep his father from getting cold. It's laced with antifreeze, so here we have one of the rare times trying to murder your own dad is actually a good thing.
What a fucked up turn of events this was.
You still want to tell me this kid's fucking normal?
No, that's not a normal thing to try to feed your father. He's not doing it to try to kill his dad, but luckily
he wants to keep him warm. I'm starting to think this kid might not be the smartest guy on the block. You know what I'm saying?
We skipped over a terrible yellow snow joke here, and that's okay, as we move towards this son who is trying to poison his dad with antifreeze.
Yeah, what about him?
The antifreeze pouch that the son has made does start to actually melt Jack Frost's face. We get the first time this, and we haven't talked about it a lot. I actually think the snowman outfit, the eyebrows are hilarious.
Yeah.
But the rest of it looks bullshit. It doesn't look like a real snowman, right? Like, the whole costume made for the Jack Frost killer is a lot.
I think it mostly looks okay in the context of what this movie is, except for the parts when he's like mashing shit into the wife's mouth earlier, and the hand of his is like clearly like a white oven mitt.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. There's some rough parts of it. The eyebrows are funny, but half of his face is about to get melted off here by fucking poison oatmeal.
Oh, it's fucking gone, man. Yeah, he's worse for wear. Half his head is fucking anti-freezed off. But as we enter our final sequence, Jack Frost still appears to be firmly in control. At least that's how I interpret all of this, as the sheriff staggers through some weird hotel/church with paper-thin walls, trippy camera angles, and people cheating on their spouses, eventually getting cornered by the killer snowman in one of its many rooms. But after that driveway salt guy fills the back of his pickup truck with antifreeze, the sheriff is able to tackle Jack Frost through a plate glass window and down to his death. Well, not total death, maybe, as one of his arms nearly strangles the sheriff's kid before getting dunked in there as well. Plus, there's a sequel tease and a bunch of weird shit in the credits. But yeah, we're basically done here.
It got real weird and artsy at the end.
Yeah.
The scene of the, Jack Frost putting his icicle into the chest of the sheriff.
I don't think it was the
basically killing him before he tackles him out the window.
I want to go on record. I don't think it was the
You don't think he was getting pleasure from killing him in this way?
Not physical pleasure, psychological. Yeah,
it felt like it was a bit of an erection to me in that way, and I don't know.
Oh, phallic for sure.
Yeah, it was phallic. He takes him out of the window. We have this hilarious battle in this pool of antifreeze in the back of a pickup truck. We do have that last moment worry that the kid is going to get choked to death, and like you said, in the end, Sheriff fucks up our Jack Frost character, so much so that we transition to a funeral scene of them burying all of the antifreeze that was in the back of that truck.
They pour it back into the bottles and
start burying it in a close grave as we have the FBI and the company coming.
But then it starts bubbling up.
It's not done.
Jack Frost 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, did it happen?
I don't fucking know.
You don't know if this is a sequel or not?
I didn't seek this out.
This is your job, man, to know movies.
All right. Yeah. I know a lot of them. I don't know, not this one. This is weird, man. I don't know. But
It bubbles. We get a sweet metal song as we head into the credits after seeing it.
Was that also a repurposed Christmas song? Because we didn't mention that at all.
No,
That's
we didn't.
A big part of this movie.
There was some amazing use of Christmas songs to create mood through weird changes in the tone of the song, and that doesn't happen at the end here. The end is a straight metal song into the credits, but it is enjoyable as we head out there, and then as we head out, we have to head into our ratings.
Oh yeah, man, right away. We might as fucking well, because this movie's over. I don't even know what has happened for a large portion of this, but we'll find out how we felt about it in a second, because the way we always do this, we rate the movie scale of 1 to 10 2 times. 1 to 10 for how bad it is, 1 to 10 for how enjoyable. And the goal is to find movies that are a 10 out of 10 on both scales, or what we call the Crit 20. And for me, as I think back on our conversation about this movie, I did compliment maybe like 2 of the effects that they have in here.
2 of them.
Again, it's amazing.
Everything that had to do with Shannon Elizabeth, I think.
Well, that's my enjoyable rating. That won't come into play here.
Okay, sorry.
But when I think about this, and I think about everything we've seen, like this is a straight-to-video movie, and I said earlier that it shows, and it really does. I think the general caliber of acting here is maybe among the worst we've ever seen. It's basically this and Attack of the Beast creatures, which you may recall was like a terrible fucking weird regional genre picture from like the early 80s.
This is much better quality of production than Attack of the Beast creatures.
I mean, only from the sense that they had like actual cameras, it seems like, but I don't feel like the caliber of acting is much better. The special effects are by and large terrible, minus the 1 or 2 that I mentioned. The snowman, the whole thing is a killer snowman. And like you said, the snowman looks like fucking shit. It doesn't look like a real snowman, so I have to ding it for that automatically. The plot of this is where I go back to, was this a comedy or not? And I don't really know the answer to that question.
The answer is yes, it's a fucking comedy.
I don't totally think it is. And this plays into my rating. If I knew it was, maybe I'd feel differently. But because of the terrible fucking acting and the reasonably terrible effects and the fact that this plot is absurd and kind of all over the place, plus that weird trippy sequence at the end, which kind of came out of left field and
Very artsy.
Wasn't particularly well done.
No.
I actually have this as a 10 bad. So for me, the Crit 20 is in play. I think this is a really bad movie.
Ooh, Crit 20 coming up.
Yeah, man.
Here.
What did you think, though?
It's fucking bad. I agree.
Yeah.
It is definitely bad. The acting is really bad. The actors at the start in the intro were terrible. All of the teen actors suck ass. The child acting is poor. I actually think the sheriff is quite good.
You said that he was the best part of this earlier, but now you're saying quite good.
Well, that might be
that's a gross overstatement to me.
He's quite good in comparison.
It's low bar syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is the guy that you put everyone else can't act like beside, and his performance seems immaculate.
In
right?
the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. This guy's got
This is
fucking
him.
one eye.
He's there,
Yeah.
but in general, the acting is really bad. The story itself is pretty terrible and ridiculous. Once he turned into a frosty monster, it was pretty like right itself though, right? Like there were some beats that had to happen once you had a snowman serial killer, and they did hit those, but it was poor. There was bad lines and writing. Some of the effects were not that good. I struggled with some of the visual effects, particularly the head on this toboggan incident was like not very good. I didn't actually think that
You didn't like the shot of the head flying through the air?
It was
just
not
arching through the
effectively
frame?
done.
Come
I
on.
felt like the axe inside the guy was poor. I thought that the garrote / kill with the like Christmas stuff was okay, other than the like puppet head that was clearly
Close-ups
getting
of the-
smashed up
yeah.
into there. That was not good. I'm still not convinced that this isn't a parody. There seems like a lot of humor that is going into this. But overall, all those things together, I had this as a 9 bad. I didn't go as far as you as a 10. This is not going to get a Crit 20 from me.
Fair. We're close. How enjoyable did you find it on a scale of 1 to 10?
So there was a lot that I enjoyed and laughed at this. It was a bit of a mystery. There was some baffling shit. The first thing I had on my list was actually the music. I really like how they took Christmas carols.
We mentioned that, yeah.
And then they like changed the tone and or like pitch that they were in to make them seem sinister, and it worked really well.
Not just into, there's some sexy ones too. When
Yeah,
Shannon
sexy.
Elizabeth and the
Well,
guys
that's like we
undressing,
get
it's a little-
jazzy. We get jazzy and sinister Christmas. Some of the kills were kind of fun. I laughed a lot at the guy who you said was the most pathetic character we've seen in the history of
where Jack Frost backs over.
Yeah,
in his
getting
own car,
backed
yeah.
over was really funny. I like some of that. I think that the editing and some of the shots they chose were pretty funny. When we got snowman vision, like when we got it from the killer
point of view, yeah.
point of view of the killer
Happened a couple
snowman,
times.
That was pretty funny. I liked it. It hit all the appropriate notes for a horror movie. I had both a 9 bad and a 9 enjoy.
God damn, that's a high score, man.
Yeah, I had fun watching
Yeah.
this shit. I bet you that if I watched the other Jack Frost movie, the one with
You'd
Michael
like it
Keaton,
less.
way less. I
way
think it's
less.
going to be a way
Exactly.
less.
You don't want to
enjoyable
watch
movie
that
for me
shit.
to
An
watch, yeah.
earnest attempt at
It
family
might be
drama.
equally as bad, but not nearly as enjoyable is what I'm going to throw out for
That's
that.
fair, man. We both have high scores in this one. I also found this quite enjoyable. Premise alone, it's so fucking silly. Like, as it's happening, we're like, come on, this can't be what's going to happen. This snowman is not going to get the fucking conscience of a serial killer in it, but that's exactly what happens. The effects are hilariously cheesy. The snowman suit is not great. I also liked some of the deaths. So nice to see Shannon Elizabeth.
How much does she add to your enjoyability? A lot, I think.
It's never a bad thing to see her. She was pre-American Pie. Obviously, she had not yet become like as famous as she would become, but it's still nice to see her on screen. And I hate what happened to her. I hate the way this went down.
Yeah,
but even that, using the carrot nose to like drill some lady, that is an inspired bit of low budget horror movie making, in my opinion. Yeah, man. So that's good. I guess the only parts that kind of took me out of this, the scene was at the end with the like weird trippy effects,
the art sequence,
like the hotel church. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? That goes for a long time, and just the caliber of acting again is so fucking low. That if they had just had a few more like decent actors, it would have definitely bumped this up for me. So I only had this as an 8 enjoyable. I'm both. I think it's worse than you, and I think it is less enjoyable than you.
But we both ended up with an 18.
We're very close.
We literally had the same score at the
end.
No
crit 20, but Jack Frost. For a minute there, I'm like, maybe it was kind of in play. But you know what? A good movie to watch. Very appropriate. I'm glad we got to finally tackle it.
Enjoyable winter movie to see together.
And what a great excuse to drink this beer. What'd you think of this beer?
The peppermint flavor for me is like ubiquitous with Christmas time. It is very easy to drink. Very winter flavor. And
they do it right. This is like toothpaste is what doesn't taste like.
No, it doesn't taste like toothpaste.
This tastes like peppermint.
A beer. I still wish it was like, I want to see the white stout that ends up like a creamy white beverage, but it hasn't happened yet. This was still very enjoyable. Every year I buy a couple of these to enjoy in wintertime around Christmas because I think the peppermint flavor is incredible. I really think the stuff that they do out of Grain and Grit is excellent, and you should, if they're available to you, buy some of those beers or visit the brewery for sure.
Definitely. They ship through Ontario, I think.
Yeah,
so you can order online, get some stuff sent to you. No, I agree. Like I said at the beginning, I know I love this beer. I know I'm going to enjoy this beer. It does have a very wintry flavor, like you said. That peppermint is fucking there, man. It's a Christmassy kind of feel to it. Totally fits, and a good peppermint, not a toothpastey peppermint.
Yeah, it's true.
This is a delicious stout. Every year I get some of these too, and I will do the same thing again next year. Grain and Grit, my favorite Hamilton brewery. Really, really good stuff, man. Glad we got to drink it.
Absolutely. What are we going to be watching next time?
So, as you know, it's the end of January, and that means that 2 weeks from now, we're going to be firmly into February, aka Black History Month. Why did you act like that?
I love Black History Month. I think Black History should be a part of our annual history. But I'm kind of concerned where we're going here. What are we watching?
We're going to go a little more mainstream for the first one. We're going to actually end up doing 2 movies in Black History Month. The first one, a very mainstream film. We're going to be talking Live and Let Die.
Bond?
It is the first Roger Moore James Bond movie, and the one that, let's just say, borrows very liberally from the blaxploitation genre, which was at the time kind of like in its like apex.
It was an ascendancy of blaxploitation at this time, and Bond decided to borrow from it. Sounds
as
like
they do. The
colonialism. Yeah, this is British to their best, I hear.
Yeah, man, for sure. So we're going to talk about kind of what happens there and see it for ourselves. And then 2 weeks after that, we will watch an actual blaxploitation movie to, kind of keep things sort of where they should be.
Real?
We're going to try our best to keep it real.
I love that. Yeah, good.
Yeah, man. But no, Live and Let Die. Major motion picture here. Roger Moore's first outing as Bond. That's going to be happening in a couple weeks. Before then, if you haven't already, please follow us on social media at the BMB Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
Send us emails, thebnbpodcast@gmail.com.
Absolutely. We've got like 5 more months to go before our season ends. So if you want to get a request and there's time, you got to get it in quick, though. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining us today for Jack Frost. We hope we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time for Live and Let Die. Until then, I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And we'll see you next time on Bad Movies and Beer.
Keep it frosty.
He's chilling and killing.